to The Truth in His Heart. I am your host, Rob Lee. And today, I'm thrilled to welcome my next guest, the CEO of Black Fae LLC and Mistress, Guild Mistress to be exact. Nope, I'm going to do that one more time. Welcome to The Truth in His Heart. I am your host, Rob Lee. And today, I am thrilled to welcome my next guest, the CEO of Black Fae LLC and the Guild Mistress of the nonprofit organization Fae of Shade. Get ready to explore the magic of representation and empowerment through the lens of fantasy with Jasmine Tucker, aka Jasmine La Fleur. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I do feel like royalty after that introduction.
See, I've been telling people I'm not going to give you the intro, and then I give you the real intro.
Yeah, I love it. You need to come everywhere with me and just give that.
I'm here to please. I'm here to please. So thank you for coming on and making the time. And, you know, I want to start off with sort of this kind of laying the groundwork sort of question. I think a lot of things that we do as like adults that are like where we put our interest and our time to, whether it's creative, whether it's business, whether it's like community organization, it starts when we're really young. Could you tell me about some of your early creative interests and things that you were into that may be impacted and reflected in the work that you're doing today?
Oh, yeah. I think it actually started with classical music, to be honest, if we want to go way, way, way back, like elementary school days. I'm originally from New Mexico, but for a brief span of my childhood, I lived in Denver, Colorado. And while I was there, my parents asked me what I was interested in. And as a little kid, I'm just like, whatever my imagination, takes me was what I was focused on. And I remember my dad, he's a musician. He plays bass. He got me a CD of Bach and he got me a CD of Beethoven. And I fell in love with classical music, and I would make little, I guess, operas in my head and twirl around, and I could just imagine all the stories. And then Tchaikovsky came into play, and of course he wrote the Nutcracker. And so I think that's where my love for fantasy took off, was listening to the Nutcracker, and then being able to see like the ballet on TV, and you see these beautiful costumes, and I was like, one day I'm going to be princess, and, was really into that. So fantasy through classical music became like my obsession. And then anime happened and Sailor Moon and, all those heroes. I didn't even know girls could be heroes like that until I saw Sailor Moon. And so once anime happened in like middle school for me, or a little bit earlier, I think I was completely obsessed with that kind of storytelling and that medium.
Thank you. That's really great. I'm over here as you're saying things. I am writing down notes because it's giving me more fuel for the rapid fire portion, and good fuel, because I might have some suggestions for you. I've been involved with some of the classical music folks, what have you. I've had some conductors on, and I think you might be interested in these conversations. So the other part that I read within your background, as we kind of are still in this sort of introductory sort of origin story, if you will, there's an education component to your background and an advocacy component to your background from what I was reading. How do they show up in your work today?
Oh, well, actually, right now, you're catching me at my workplace. I'm at the public library in my neighborhood, where I am a program presenter. And so I go out to outreach programs that may be underserved as far as being able to receive quality books and literacy, things like that. And so I present these programs, and I actually tote library materials and books so they can check them out at their schools and after school programs. And so it's really fun to come in as like the bubbly, fun librarian, right? So I don't have all the Miss Jasmine's a teacher or a substitute teacher. They're like actually excited, to have me come in and read them a story and play some games. So I really love being able to use my education background in that capacity where I'm serving the community I'm in, but I'm also giving valuable skills for these children. So, yes. Oh, and I used to be an early childhood educator, working programs with kids from birth to 3 years old and a little bit of preschool before then. So, I love being able to play and create with kids.
Yeah, and I mean, I can see, some of the connective tissue as we're getting into sort of the Fae oriented part of the program, if you will. So for those who are undipped, present company may be included. Who knows? Could you tell us what the definition of a Fae is? There's a bit of confusion, and I would love if you could share what your definition of the term, the culture, what have you. Like, what's a Fae? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, so Fae actually is a Gaelic word originally, but through like entomology and the history of just people and language being as dynamic as it is,
Sure.
currently in the definition that we refer to at Black Fae is mythical humanoid creature. So that's very, very broad. To be a mythical creature could mean you're a centaur. That could mean you're a Ziza. That could mean you're a caterpillar man. That could mean you're a sentient burrito person. I don't know, but
That's great.
yes, I feel like using that definition, but also understanding, respecting the original origins and the people who, spoke that is really important because you don't want to get into arguments of appropriation, the bad word. But you also, I feel like as a person who loves folklore, you also have to acknowledge the cultures around folklore, and mythical creatures are in every community on the planet. So that is something that happens, mythology and storytelling.
Oh, thank you. That definitely helps. That clears it up. And yeah, I think paying homage and recognizing where, things come from, it leads to a larger conversation and interaction with some of those like other groups other than you took, like you said, the appropriate, you took our thing and now it's yours. That's not how that works. And I like that you said that. And, I guess yokai would be in that conversation too. Like, I'm a yokai guy.
Yeah, and you find yokai in Japanese mythology and folklore. So it is wonderful that the word fae or mythical creature can connect you to so many different cultures. And so, someone might say, yeah, I know what a mythical creature is. Yokai, I love yokai. And then now there's a whole brand new conversation. Or someone, I was reading a book called Iron Widow. And it's a fascinating story with a really awesome female protagonist who is a mech pilot.
Nice.
There is a lot of Chinese mythology there. So I learned about like this man with like eyes where his nipples should be and his mouth where his belly button should be. And it's like a crazy mythical creature that, is very familiar in Chinese culture. And
Yeah.
so after I read it in the book, I started to see it or see references of it in different songs and literature and even kung fu movies where, some of the fighters or heroes would be nicknamed after these mythical creatures that have been in their culture for thousands and thousands of years. So I really love mythology because you can jump in it and then you never know what stories or even genre of stories you might come across. So it's fun.
Yeah, it's appreciation. It's being able to do that sort of journey. And, I think it was an era where people were getting things, maybe tattoos that they didn't know what the hell they were getting. And it's like, oh, you don't know what that kanji means, sir. Or, ma'am, that is not the animal you or the mythical creature you want to have on you. And I'll say when I have a tattoo of a foo dog and an oni, and I did a lot of research before getting it because, you hear different things and you want to make sure you're on point while appreciating and seeing the, where that story maybe connects with you. So Yeah, that's just my 2 cents on that. And almost as a natural segue, because we're talking about phase. How
Yes.
did the idea of Black Fae Day come about? And can you tell us, like, like really, what does the role as the all everything? No, maybe, but the all everything, like CEO and everything related to that, what does your role entail at Black Fae Day?
Yeah. So I initially was the creator, and so that started with, feelings of being disconnected
Mm,
after, COVID lockdown happened. Um, Feeling isolated, feeling like, oh, it's really hard to connect online a lot of the times. And my birthday prior to Black Friday, I had a Zoom party, costume
nice.
with my family. And I remember, we're all over the country, we're dressed up and we're playing party games or whatever. And I thought, wow, like this felt really nice. Like I hadn't experienced that in a while since COVID had happened and we've been isolated. Um, and I was thinking about the coming year. So it was almost spring. 28 Days of Black cosplay had just ended, which is going on right now while we're recording and speaking. But it's so inspiring to see everyone in costume. But again, we were online and just had to enjoy it out of person. And I saw how wonderful it was. And that was created by a cosplayer named Princess Mentality. I love her and I loved that whole movement. But I saw this beautiful girl and she was dressed up as a princess. And I thought, I, I don't get to see images like this very often. Like I've always loved fairy tales like Thumbelina and Rapunzel and Snow White, but I never saw myself in those characters. I just felt like I was in a bubble on the outside wanting to get in. And so I was like, me and my friends, let's just dress up and we're going to use this hashtag. And if other people want to join in, they can participate. But I really want to flood social media with images of Black fairies and knights and dragons and whatever we want to be, just for one day only. Just if we could flood the internet and break algorithms so people could see positive, representation of us in fantasy. So that was the call to action. I tweeted. I had zero, like I probably had like 300 people following me. So it literally was me just calling out into the ether and really signaling to my friends because that's the only people I thought were going to participate. And if I was being honest with myself, but I put it out there and it took off.
Yeah.
Like I tweeted in March. By May, on the day, it's the second Saturday, May each year. On on May 8th, 2021 was the first Black Fae Day, and it was like the second most trending topic on Twitter that day. I mean, so many people participated, so many beautiful images of whole families dressed up as wizards and knights and little baby dragons in their houses and in their homes, making it their own. Like to see like a grandparent all the way down to the youngest dressed up in fantasy was like unreal.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of us haven't experienced before. So it was so beautiful to see whole families and individuals and artists and illustrators and authors participate, say, hey, I'm a indie writer and I have this book and the protagonist is a Black elf and she cusses and she does all these things, like all these things that really show a playfulness that we don't often see in media.
Yeah.
So if it was just that, it was a success to me and it made me very happy. And so I decided with my partner, Carlos, that maybe I should dedicate my work into keeping this feeling going and providing more opportunities to uplift the community that we found together. Like a lot of people who follow us said, "Oh, I thought I was the only one."
Right.
That comment came up so often. And I get a little emotional about it right now.
Yeah.
And people laugh because they're like, "You're a crybaby every time you talk about this, right?" You're like teary. But to hear that and to know what it feels like to be the only one at the D&D game, to be the only one, on the hike with your wooden sword, to be the only one in the pool with your mermaid tail on, Um, we got so many of those stories and people thanking us for bridging us all together. That I just couldn't leave it at just the hashtag. So now I work daily on trying to make sure I hear the concerns and triumphs of the people in this community that want to make fantasy more Black and wonderful.
As one should. And I got a few more questions related in that area, but I got a comment on it. One, I want to say thank you for doing that and kind of helping spearhead that and kind of just starting that sort of conversation from your vantage point. Because I think me as a person, I've gone to conventions, I've gone to different cons and so on. And, early on, I was like, man, I'm too cool for this. I was wearing like Timberlands and fitted hats just to try to place. That's what I own, but playing the character. So I'm not cosplaying as a rapper. I'm just saying that. But I'm going there and I'm seeing people that are just being in themselves and enjoying their fandom, enjoying the weird little quirkiness and that whimsy and in a sense, dancing like nobody's watching, and I think it's something very freeing and very alluring about that. And I'll say even, personally, my partner, she's like, I'm a fairy. She's like, this is what I'm doing. This is what it is. And I remember it was
Yes.
a couple of Halloweens ago where I'm searching, for days to try to find, I like puns, right? So I dressed as the weekend and I'm 6'4". And so I call myself the 3-day weekend or the long weekend because I thought it was funny.
The
And
3-day weekend.
and I saw her costume and she bought these really expensive like fairy wings from somewhere and she has this crown on. I'm like, all right, I see you out here. And it's a really cool picture. And we just look like people that you have the pop culture thing. You have just, her kid was with her. So you had the horror movie thing. And then you had her in her fayness, and it was just really cool to sort of see that. And people were kind of coming by like, wow, you guys have really interesting costumes. And I was like, it's a lifestyle,
Yeah. I need like the postcard of that image with "It's a Lifestyle" on it.
I'll tag you in it. I'll send it your way. So in being in this sort of spot of, helping build community, connect community, and and how does the community like come through? You touched on it, but as we've grown over the last now coming up on 2 years or 3 years at this point, what are some of the achievements that have happened? What are some of the opportunities that have presented itself from people being tapped in and community being built?
Yeah, well, we hear all kinds of stories, especially since last year's first physical event. So last year, we were able to throw our fairy tale gala. Land versus sea was the theme, and we had it in Atlanta, Georgia, during Black Fae Day weekend last year. And it was something I just decided I'm going to do. And so I petitioned to our community groups on Facebook and I said, hey, I want to do this fairy tale gala for you and give you a safe space to just frolic and be yourself and, see each other. And the community gave me the $1,000 I needed to put down a deposit on a venue, and it was a Black-owned venue, so that was amazing. It was a beautiful garden with a pool and like cabana. It was just like vibes, right? So we got it locked down, and even just telling the venue owners at Chalet Gardens what we were doing, even they were inspired and excited and giddy about it. And so I just started to source from the community. And so, no, you're a knight troupe. Like, tell me about Knights of Wakanda. And I found out that they are a group that is in a sport called Armored Combat. and they came in from head to toe in real armor, and they practiced real African traditional martial arts. Some of them know multiple different types of swords play, and like that's what they do. They educate people about African battle, and let people know that there weren't just European knights in the
Yeah.
world, that we had warriors and we had knights and we had all kinds of um, warriors out there that we weren't taught about before. So
Hmm.
they not only educated us, but they also demonstrated what they did. So we had real knights in armor and shields and swords clanking around and giving it to us. So that was exciting. And we had mermaids there that came in with their tails and were diving and swimming. It really was a magical experience to say, okay, I know a mermaid and I know a fairy and I know a knight, and let's put this all together and see what happens. And it ended up being one of the most magical experiences I've ever seen. Like Disney World has nothing on seeing black mermaids
Yeah.
and knights and them really in their element. And to be able to give that to my community and say, look at us, like this is what we do. Like you've been doing this, and now we have a place to celebrate that with each other. Everything's changed since then. Now we have vendors there, and
Yeah.
some of them said, I vended there for the first time, and I didn't, think I could before. Now I've been to this convention, I've been that, and my business is flourishing. So even small businesses, benefited from just being in communion with other Black fantasy enthusiasts. So that's like one of the biggest accomplishments and why I've decided to make this my work, to just facilitate being able to meet and support each other.
That's beautiful. I'm sitting here just in awe and just really happy about this, and it's this idea I keep poking around that of, I mean, as Black folk, if we're able to do and bring our things together, we're always going to support each other. We're always going to support our communities, what have you. And there are things that kind of get in the way, social media being a big piece of it. But I think if used right, we can build up that sort of community and connect in that way. And then and by social media, I'm talking about you can't see people in your feed sometimes. It's like, I want to see these Black people. Nah, you're gonna see these advertisements,
Yeah.
but I think, what you're describing is a testament to, there's an appetite for it, there's an interest for it, and people want to come together and, put on some ears and a mermaid tail and some armor and get it in, and
Yes.
then having it in one of the blackest places I could think of in Atlanta. I was like, oh, fried chicken come with it? Did we get waffles as well? Like, what are we doing? This is great. But it's beautiful, and I'm just really, really fortunate that and happy to hear that that's kind of like some of the story that's there, and it's I would imagine more and more to come. So for you, I have like two more real questions here. For you, like in the whole like sort of team or what have you, what are sort of the goals or the aspirations you have for like this year and beyond? Like, where do you want to see it? What's the next theme looking like? What do you have in mind? What's on your mind moving forward?
Yes. Well, I feel like the crown jewel of Black Fae Day right now would be the Fae of the Shade, which is our guild. And we're working really hard right now to make it a official registered nonprofit organization. And so that requires a lot. It requires a board and writing bylaws and, making sure that you're not going to tick off the IRS, with that um, nonprofit comes, like tax special permissions and things like that. So the learning curve is high with me not really having a background in nonprofit organization, but I have a community that really supports me and are teaching me a lot. So I'm really excited that I get to do this with my colleagues and fans and friends and people that I'm beginning to call family with these interactions that we've had together. So It's really special, and that's what we're focusing on right now. That way, we could provide actual programs and services and support in a way that we can't right now. So that's the goal. We would still have meetups like the gala, but there's also some educational and other kinds of economically uplifting things that we're trying to do. So that's that. And we are having our second fairy tale gala this April 30th in Rockwall, Texas. And that's just a few minutes outside of Dallas. The theme is royals, and there's a story behind that. But I wanted to have like a big coronation for everyone because you are of high value and high esteem. And I really wanted everyone to feel like they were the ultimate VIP when they come to this gala.
I love it. I mean, I'm polishing off my crown, getting
Yes.
my black velvet together. I mean, I know it's probably going to be a little warm, but I'll put on some black velvet. Shave my hair,
Yeah.
it'd be great.
I'm like always looking at like the Afro punk musicians,
Yeah.
Afro beats musicians because their threads are always so on point. Like they look so good from head to toe, just so regal and fashionable. So those are some of the people I look at for inspiration. So I want to look regal too.
I mean, all I'm always in is like dirty Carhartt shirts and just trying to make it happen. That's just literally the life. So it'd be cool for me to switch it up to something more regal. So I think actually I got everything. As far as the real questions, I mean, you crushed it for one. So shout out to you. And
Thanks.
and
And I
so
didn't cry.
no, you were great. So you might cry at this part though. We got to do the rapid fire questions.
Okay.
They're fun though. They're fun. I assure you they are fun. One is a request. I'm just letting you know, having in the back of your mind, because you said something earlier that I got to dive into because I'm a fan. Okay, here's the first one. What is one thing that you would do? What's the first thing that you would do if you were invisible for a day?
Oh man, if I was invisible for a day, a whole 24 hours,
Yeah.
I'm a fae, like a fairy folk person. There's a lot of chaos I could cause without being seen. I would do so much. I think pranking anybody within an eye shot would be like the ultimate win for me. Just ultimate chaos everywhere.
No.
Hands are down, people tripping over themselves, printers aren't working. Yes, just anything and everything.
That's very close to what I would do. I would change the name on coffees.
Yes,
Like how did
yes.
that?
Like this doesn't say Brian at all. It says Poopy Head.
That's funny. Thinking back, what was one of your nicknames in school? Because we all had nicknames. We all had something that was just like, come on, man, can we come with something better?
Nicknames in school. I wasn't that cool, man.
I mean, I wasn't either. My nickname wasn't great. It was just like, oh, that's Fat Rob right there. It's like, come on, guys, can we? All
Oh
right.
man, I can't even. Mm, I'm gonna call my friends and be like, "I was so uncreative. Like nobody gave me like a real nickname. Like Jazzy, that's it. Jazzy D. Um, my mom called me Frida Fracker. That was like random. And I feel like you're like one of those like IRS secret people that are trying to get my identity.
Oh,
Like
snap.
the identity questions, like what street did you live on? What was your childhood nickname?
Tell me more. As I'm
Right.
typing. Okay, I'll move on. I'll move on. I want my cover blown. What is what is a useless or what seemingly useless fact that like some people have I'm a big trivia guy, right? So it's just like,
Yeah.
oh, that this person did this and someone's like, why do you know that? Why is that on the top of your dome? So what is something that like a favorite useless fact for you?
I think it was like if you play the note C, like concert F C, like above like so many octaves, it turns into the color red because the wavelengths are so fast that the sound wavelength changes to color. But I don't know if that's true. I don't think that's the way science works. But if it was a fact, it's one that I know, and it could be totally wrong. But
I'll take it.
That's a Fae fact for you within the magical realms of the shade.
Fae facts. That's great. All right, here's the last one. The last one is the request. All right, can you give us a little bit of that Sailor Moon theme, please? Just a scope.
Fighting evil by moonlight, winning love by daylight. Never running from a real fight. She is one named Sailor Moon. If I sing anymore, you're gonna get copyright strikes. So let me stop.
That's true. That's true. That was fire. I just like at least once a week, I go on YouTube and I just type in Sailor Moon theme, and then I grab my tuxedo mask, and then people looking at me like I'm crazy at work. That's just what it is.
Posing, you got your rose, you're ready to go. Your cape's blowing in the wind. That's my ringtone, by the way. It's like an 8-bit version, but it's really cute.
Don't get me started. I'm going to pull up at this regal affair with that tuxedo mask fit on. It's going to be fire.
You'll hear a shriek from across the room, and I'll totally break character. I won't be a hostess anymore. I'll just be a fangirl. Like, oh my God, tuxedo mask came to my gala. Nobody can tell me anything. Yeah, I'd be too happy.
That's 10 on 10. So that's pretty much everything for today. This has been a treat. And I want to thank you for coming onto the podcast and spinning a yarn with me and sharing with me. And I want to invite and encourage you to tell the listeners where they can check out you, social media, Black Fae Day, anything that you want to share. The floor is yours.
Yes. Definitely hit up our website at www.blackfaeday.com. You'll get all the latest news where you can sign up to be one of the shade. So we definitely want you to join in on the Guild Fund when you can. All of our events are going to be posted there, which we have more to come, and I can't announce them yet. But if you sign up for emails, you'll get all the information you need to be part of the shade and enjoy all this wonderful Black fantasy things that we have coming for you. Of course, you can also follow us on social media at Black Fae Day Official on Instagram and Facebook, and anywhere that you pretty much have socials, it's either Black Fae Day after that. And also follow the hashtag. If you want to see all that people have done to participate with the Black Fae Day movement, follow hashtag Black Fae Day on all your socials as well. So you'll see some great things.
And there you have it, folks. I want to again thank Jasmine La Fleur, Jasmine Tucker for coming on to the podcast from Black Fae Day. And I'm Rob Lee, saying that there's art, community, and representation in and around your neck of the woods. You just have to look for it.